Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and I've been playing a lot of Overwatch. I've played it for quite a bit of time. As well with Overwatch, I've played a lot of other competitive games, and today I want to tell you guys one of the things that I really think that a lot of people experience that inhibits them from improving at the game of Overwatch, or really any competitive game that they are playing at the time. Now, of course, this may not 100%, pertain to you. You might already have, like, the best mindset in the world, and you might already, be willing to improve, but I feel like a lot of people do have some problems with this, and it's okay. We all gotta improve, we all gotta just get better ourselves, and yeah, I just want to talk a bit today about what I feel like is really holding a lot of people back, that people just don't really want to admit way too much. That's even holding me back at times. So what is this thing that's holding us all back? Well, let's say it's a slight superiority complex to ourselves. We're thinking that we're too good, and the problem about this is that when you think that you're better than everyone else, it means that you say to yourself, there's nothing to be learned from anyone else. There's nothing to be learned from your enemies, nothing to be learned from your teammates. You're already better than them, so you should just improve on yourself, and that's it. Completely ignore everyone else. I feel like this is a really big problem, as it makes so you just really consider everyone else not a useful learning material, and you really don't try to learn what they're doing in order to improve. Now, of course, a big reason that people do this is I feel like it's just really a main human fault. You really don't want to admit any fault to yourself, and you just kind of want to blame other people. It's really natural, so I'm not going to be saying, be ashamed about it. It's just kind of what a lot of humans do by naturally, just to kind of protect themselves. With that said, though, I'd say that if you can try to put in the effort to try to change this and try to help your mindset to think that, you aren't the best person in the entire world in this game, or to try to think, that everyone in your rank sucks, but, Grandmaster, those are the only good players in the world. I feel like if you could change your mindset from that, it can really help you long term. Now, one of the things that I feel like is really a big piece of the puzzle that can help you quite a bit, getting past this and, kind of just improving at the game and learning how to actually improve yourself at the game other than, just your plain mechanics, is looking at the enemy team and giving people credit for what they're doing. Often I see people not giving any credit to the enemy team and just instead blaming your own team instead of trying to learn from the enemies. Now, the one thing that is really confusing is that if you're playing in a game and the enemy team is completely blasting your team apart, they're just destroying you, you're just getting completely wrecked. I feel like a lot of people that I know just start to blame their teammates, start to blame themselves, just get angry, and just take the game as a loss. This is probably the wrong way to play this. Instead, you should use this as a very good learning opportunity. If the enemy team is destroying your team, then just think about this for a second. Why don't you try to learn what the enemy team is doing, a tried and true method that is taking out your own team, and use that for your future games. I'll use their strategy for your future games, and try to apply that to yourself for the future. I feel like this is a thing that can really help you a lot. The enemy knows a lot. The enemy can help you improve a lot, and by actually trying to learn from them instead of just getting angry when they beat you, I feel like that's a really good way in order to get first-hand experience on how to get better. Now, this can as well really apply to your own teammates. A lot of the time I see people just kind of ignoring what their teammates are doing, just hoping that they're going to do well, and not trying to learn from their own teammates. If you're playing a game, and if you're stomping your game, and if it's going on super easy, you should try to focus on what your teammates are doing and see how they're playing the game in order to win the match at hand. As if you can use that for the future, you can help yourself improve a lot. A lot of the times, your exact games, you aren't the only one playing well in your game. You aren't the only one carrying your game. Of course, sometimes that does happen, but for the majority of time, there's other people playing well, and there's other people to learn from. And I'd say just put in the effort to try to learn from these people. And if you do just do what most people do and just ignore your teammates, ignore what they're doing, you'll improve a lot slower than if you were to put in the effort to try to see what your teammates are doing, try to see what your teammates' strategies are, and try to just implement those in your own future games. Now, another thing about, the mindset about, thinking you're better than a lot of people, or just kind of subconsciously going with that, I feel like there's a really big problem that happens in a lot of communities, most competitive communities, where you either think that everyone better than you is a tryhard, and that everyone worse than you is trash. And while I say that a lot of people do think this, I think this is a completely wrong mindset to go with. What you should probably try to think is that everyone better than you is good at the game. They put in a lot of time at the game. Of course, they've learned a lot of strategies, and you should try to be copying their strategies. You should be trying to learn from their strategies and try to learn from what they're doing, and not just like brush it off and be like, that guy's a tryhard. He's trying too hard at this game. Nothing to be learned from him. I don't want to be a tryhard myself. Instead, try to learn from it. At the other end of the spectrum, a lot of times if your teammates, aren't doing 100% perfect, or they aren't carrying your game for you, you're going to say they're trash, they're useless, there's nothing to be learned. But in a lot of situations, there's still quite a bit to be learned even from your bad teammates. You can see what not to do, and that is very important. You can save a lot of time by seeing, what is my teammate doing wrong? Exactly what is he going bad at? And you can apply that to yourself in the future. Now, of course, with this, I'd also say, when you see stuff that's bad, make sure to write it down somewhere. try to remind yourself of this, as I feel like a lot of times it's very easy to blame other people for what stupid stuff they're doing, while you can kind of just ignore what stupid stuff you're doing because you're blaming someone else. Now, a different thing that I'd also like to say about, kind of not really the superiority complex, but a problem that I feel like a lot of people kind of just face in general in this game, is that a lot of people watch esports games, watch, the max level skill games, watch grandmaster games, and they only try to learn from those games. They only try to learn from the best of the best, and they just ignore their own competitive games. Now, I feel like this is a big problem, as you can learn a lot from pro games, but a lot of times these pro game strategies won't mix into your own game. They won't mix into your own strategies, and they just won't really mix when you don't have the top of the line mechanics, which a lot of people just can't really ever get if they don't put in enough effort, which most people won't, let's be honest, including myself. Now, the thing that I would say is that, of course, it's very fun to watch these. You can learn a lot of good, but you should be using this in addition to your matches that you're playing, in addition to the time and experience that you've been putting into your own competitive games. If you try to just learn from esports and don't try to learn from your own games right now, right here, it's going to take a lot more time to improve. So yeah, those are some general things, and here's the really big final thing that I feel like a lot of people have trouble with. I was even having a little bit of trouble with this at the beginning. So of course, I was playing, I got, in Season 1, I think I got placed in like rank 48, and I felt like I was placed way lower than where I should have been. I was way better than a rank 48 player. Everyone around me's trash. I should have been placed a lot higher. I honestly felt like I was a lot better than most people. But then I played a few games. I played a lot of games, about 100 games, and I realized that after those 100 games, I really deserved to be placed in the rank that I was initially placed at. Now, of course, this isn't always true. Sometimes you are just unfortunately placed a little bit lower or a little bit higher than you're supposed to be placed at. But for the majority of players, you're going to be placed nearby where you should be. And if you become better, you can actually get out of that rank. I eventually got out of that rank and eventually got to Diamond in this own season. I'd really say that you kind of have to realize to yourself that once you've played 50 to 100 to even 200 games, you're definitely in the rank that you deserve to be in right then. You aren't just getting completely unlucky. The chance that you're just getting unlucky is so low that it really doesn't even exist. If you played like 200 games, it's a very small chance, especially if you just look at the medium of players in general. What I'd say is really that you have to just realize that you're nearby the skill level where you have to be placed right now. You're nearby the skill level where you are. And you got to carry yourself out of there if you do want to get out of there. You have to improve yourself, and you have to realize that you aren't, this godlike player right now, but that you can become that godlike player if you put in the effort, if you put in the time, and if you try to learn from other players. You can't just magically climb up the ranking system because you think that you're better than the rank that you are right now. That doesn't really happen. Hard work, hard effort is really the only way to get there, and trying to improve yourself enough where you can carry your teams is where I really feel like this really matters the most. I saw a bit of effort with this, with myself, so my friend was playing on another friend's account. He was a Genji main at the time, and he was playing on my friend's account that was in silver, and he carried every single game in silver that he played, and he was about a diamond player. Now with this, I'm pretty much just trying to show that if you are actually a much better player than all the people in your rank, you should be able to carry the majority of your games. At least 60% of your games you should be able to carry, because the majority of people will be about the same level on your team and on the enemy team. It's just how the statistics work, and you just kind of have to accept that. If you think that you're better than everyone else, but you haven't actually put in the time, or you haven't actually tried to think about how you can improve that often, you just think that you're better just because you are, then you probably aren't actually way too much better. Now, with that being said, you can very easily get better than other people. You can put in the time, you can put in the effort, and you can get stronger than other people. Now, there are a lot of times where you get just on an unlucky losing streak. There are a lot of times where you just get a few matches in a row that just aren't quite fortunate for you. Your team really doesn't do really the best, and it's super hard to carry. With that said, though, that's not every game. That's not even the majority of games. I feel like the majority of games are near equal-ish, and you should be able to play really well in those and be able to at least slightly improve your chance of winning every single game. So you do just have to try to do that. Now, as for another thing about the lower ranks that I feel like a lot of people will kind of just not take away from the previous thought about my video, I'd say that do remember, once again, that even in lower ranks, you can learn a lot from your teammates. I feel like a lot of people, when they're in these lower ranks, think, everyone's really bad down here. There's nothing to be learned. I'm just going to look at games from people above me, look at Grandmaster games, esports games. But there is a lot that you can learn how to do, and mostly there's a lot to learn what not to do. If you can learn all the stuff not to do in your games, and then you happen to not do any of those in your games, you'll be helping your team a ton. And if you can also kind of coach your team a little bit about what to do, what not to do, if they have their mic on, and if they're willing to listen, then you can help a lot from there. I'd really just say don't assume that everybody's really bad at the game where your rank is, and don't assume that you're way too much better than everyone else. Assume that you're about the same rank, that you maybe are a little bit higher, but that you have to carry them up and then you have to climb together in order to get up. And also I'd say just don't assume that your teammates always suck and are complete idiots. just because they aren't Grandmaster. I feel like I had a lot of this, especially in lower platinum. Just everyone assumed everyone else was an idiot and wouldn't really listen to anyone else because they're like, you know, everyone else is dumb. No one's in diamond here. No one's, you know, masters here. So everyone's freaking idiot. Let's not listen to each other. Don't do that. Try to listen to each other, try to learn from each other, and realize that everyone about your level or about your skill rank is going to be nearby your same level of skill, as that's just how ranking systems kind of work. And there you go. That's all I'm going to say about this, of course. Just try to change your way of thinking, try to change your way of playing, and try to change the way that you're just going on through your game. Especially if you're just at different playing levels, there's always something to improve at and always something to learn from your team, be it the enemy team, or really anything else I've talked about. Anyways, if you have your own ideas, your own little tips, your own reason why you feel like you stopped improving at Overwatch and then a way that you got past that, make sure to leave that in the comment section down below. I really do like to know these tips from you guys, and I'd like to know what you guys personally think about, you know, how to improve. We're all here to try to help each other, try to become a stronger community. So yeah, make sure to do that. As well, if you enjoyed, as always, press the like button. Subscribe if you want any more tip videos like this or any news videos, as I do both those quite a bit. And as always, have a wonderful day.